Welcome back to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast, a show all about inspiring smart, busy women to put their happiness at the top of their to-do list. Join your host and life coach, Dion Thompson, as she chats with amazing women who have figured out how to make their happiness a priority, and more importantly, what it's really like to go from hot mess to awesomeness. And now, on with the show.
My guest is Shari Miller, who has a massive, massive chunk of my heart. Shari, you and I have been friends now, I don't know, years, lifetimes, forever. I always like to tell the story about how much I was afraid of you when we first met, because I think that it was very empowering, the whole process, and I'm going to explain it in a second, but yes. I think more women need to know that you can kind of get through the comparisonitis and literally come out in the most blessed way. So you and I have, as our friendship has grown, we connect every week and we have great conversations and we support each other, and we're there for each other. And you're going to be at the 100 Women on Fire event as one of the speakers, and it's awesome. And the first time that I met you, unofficially, we were both going to the same conference, the She Succeeds conference. And
all right. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So we were both going to the same conference, and I checked the guest list, and I was kind of like creeping everybody just to see, again, in a very strategic networking fashion, who was I going to be connecting with, who was going to be there. And I came across you and your name, and I clicked onto your page, and I literally had like that stomach upside down, I'm gonna want to throw up moment, because your stuff was amazing. You were speaking my language, and it felt like you were the coach I wanted to be. And I'm like, well, there she is. And now I can't be that, because there she is. Like, you even had posts written about books that I was reading, and I was like this, I'm a champion for this book, and this is how I feel about this. And I had like a little pity party there for, I want to say it was like 3 hours maybe of, I look at her stuff, it's so much better. And I just went there hard. And after about, like I said, about 3 hours, I was kind of like, okay, give your head a shake, Dion. Like this can't be how you are. So I decided, I'm like, okay, well, I need to move through this. And what does this mean? So if I'm feeling so much around what this woman is putting out into the world and how much I'm almost coveting it in a sense, then I obviously just need to meet her. I need to meet her, and from there,
face it head on.
and figure out how to invite whatever it is that you've got into my world, because if I want it, that's how that's probably the most direct route to go and get it.
Yeah.
So to go and connect with someone. So at the conference, I didn't get a chance to meet you. It was like, oh, okay. It was a very busy conference with a lot going on. And I put it out to myself. I'm like, okay, well, wasn't the right time, and whatever will happen. And I swear to God, it was that day you reached out to me and you had messaged me about picking up some of my Christmas cards that I had created. And I'm like, okay, this is what needs to happen. And it was just, our world just went whoop, whoop, whoop. And from there, it's been phenomenal being
so good.
Having you in my world and learning from you, and I'm super excited for our chat today. You and I have been connecting through this, everything that we've been experiencing and walking through this together, and I'm really grateful for that. And there's so much wisdom that I have gained from our chats, and I'm really excited for others to share in that as well. So. Shari, I love you. And that wasn't a very official bio, but
that's good.
the straight from the heart. But perhaps you could introduce yourself for the folks that maybe don't know what it is that you do, other than being someone that I love up on. Yeah.
I'm so grateful and feel really blessed to be here. I love all of the fun things and good things that you're doing, and I love how you show up for your community and for people and for me. And I'm just super pumped to be here and to dance our butts off to AC/DC as a little icing on the cake. I'm Shari Miller, and I'm a life and mindset coach, and I help women who feel stuck in any area of their life to find their freedom. Freedom is my core value, and it's something that I'm constantly aligning myself to in order to live my best life and show up as my best self. And this is what I help empower my coaching clients to do, and it's glorious. So thank you for having me.
So good. I just changed earphones. Can everybody still hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Technology, it works. It's just, anyway.
Yeah. And we just have to lean into the things that don't work and try new things, just like everything in life, right? Just like the COVID times, like, we can't get stressed about the mic being a little fuzzy. We just kind of pivot and do something different. So.
Right. And,
Awesome.
You and I had talked a lot about that word in particular. So let's go there.
Mm-hmm.
Since minute one, there's those of us in the, entrepreneurial world, and I know people all over the place are this idea of pivoting. And you gave a really great sort of reframe or sort of reassessment, I think, of that idea for me that really helped me to see what I was doing as I'm not moving in a different direction. It's more just I'm leaning into what feels right and is right for this moment. And the gifts have been that for some of the things, this included, it was very backburnered, even though it is definitely something I wanted to do. So So tell us a little bit about sort of what that's been like for you at this moment, pivoting or aligning, I think, is the term that you helped me to land on a little bit more. So.
It's so funny when the word pivot became this big thing that everyone's talking about. All I can think about is Ross and Rachel on the staircase, trying to get that damn couch up, but pivot. And I mean, this is semantics, right? Pivot is a word, and there's lots of words that kind of can fit into that. Aligning is one that I use a lot, which is also, potentially overused. But what I see and what I've seen during this COVID time is, it's not necessarily going in a completely different direction or changing who you are or what you're offering, but it's aligning yourself to what feels good and what makes sense right now. And that can be not just applied during the COVID times, that's in life in general. And that's how I have chosen to live my life the last few, ish years is, what do I want in the moment? What feels good to me now? And it might not be the same thing that felt good to me, even last week or last year. And knowing that it's okay for it to change and move in a different direction. Because I really truly believe that when you're aligning with what feels good and what makes sense and what fits, the piece of the puzzle that fits your life right now, you're never going to be led astray. You're never going to be on the wrong path. Right. And I think sometimes we get so stuck in, like, okay, I've made the decision to take this job or start this business and have it look like this thing. And I can't change it. I can't change it because that means that I'm flip-flopping or that I'm failing, which is where I call bullshit, because we're humans. We're meant to evolve. We're meant to change. It's the resistance to change into evolution and growth where we really find that we're most anxious and where we find the most stress in our lives. So if we just kind of lean a little bit in and ask ourselves those questions, okay, what do I really need right now? And what can I let go of that doesn't fit anymore, that once fit and was wonderful at one time, but I can gently let it go, grieve it, and then move on and open up space for the new things that are meant to flow towards me. It just makes life easier. It makes life feel better. It makes it feel more like freedom, which is what I'm always after and what I try to help my clients to achieve as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love everything about that. And I know that um, through your guidance and through your modeling of what you had been going through, I got a much deeper understanding and more concrete awareness of the grief process through evolution, through the up leveling, right? So to be grieving what once was, even though you are stepping in, you're consciously knowing, stepping into something better. It's such an integral part. So I'm interested in your journey, like what brought you to that deeper awareness for yourself and for your clients, and what inspired you to become a freedom advocate, or I mean, as a coach, but really it's beyond your coaching. It's definitely your presence as someone who encourages all to find that space. So what brought you to that place?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because I really do believe that our journeys are where the richness of our purpose lies, and it's not always in the successes and the celebrations, but it most often is in the challenges. And I realized this was in 2007 that when I got divorced, my marriage ended. It was a 13-year marriage. It ended, and I was in essence free to start fresh. And what was that going to look like? I got a blank slate to be able to do anything that I wanted to. And I kept asking myself those questions, and I forged forward, created a new life for myself. And through that reinvention, if you will, I realized that by sharing my story of how I got through, what was one of the shittiest times of my life, but it actually, if I allowed myself to grieve it, it was a death. It wasn't a death in the life death sort of framework, but it was a death. And in order to move forward from it, I had to acknowledge it. I had to grieve it. I had to let it go, release it, in order to have space for this new life I was creating. And that allowed me to keep going, and it allows more flow. And then, as the years progressed, I realized that my ability to hold space, my ability to, share what I've gone through and what worked for me, and to model what freedom looks like and what freedom of choice looks like in life for other people, inspired other people to do the same, which is where my coaching career, was birthed from. So, and then actual grief took me up a notch as far as that's concerned. I lost both of my parents in an 18-month period. And it's funny, because I thought that, okay, well, that's behind me. I've put in the time to be sad, to grieve, to what I thought was grieving, which, it was not. It was the top layer of grieving, that everything would be easy moving forward, which it wasn't. That was a big lesson for me. If you don't take the time to grieve whatever it is you're letting go of, it's going to keep holding you, and it's going to keep showing up, and it's going to keep weighing you down and keeping you stuck. And I was right there. I was stuck. So I made the big, deep down, dirty decision to take a step back, to create space. It's scary when you do that, because the discomfort of creating space and not being busy and doing and saying yes and stepping up and saying no, like you said, in a world that wants us to say yes, is really uncomfortable. To heal and to properly grieve, and to let go of what I needed to let go in order to get the clarity I needed to see what the next step was. And that's really the model that I kind of use when I'm coaching my clients, is we need to slow down. We need to be still. We need to quiet ourselves. We need to declutter our lives in order to actually truly see what it is that we're meant to do, that what our next move is, and what's for us. Right. And I think that's where a lot of people get scared. Being quiet and downloading those answers can be really scary. So we just keep forging forward, doing what we've been doing what we think we should be doing. Right. And oftentimes it's not bringing us joy. It's not bringing us freedom. It's not bringing us health and wealth and happiness. So it's really, I'm taking a yin yoga training right now. And the 3 pillars of yin yoga are finding your edge, which means, you know, getting to that level of, I'm kind of uncomfortable. How far can I go? And then sitting with it and being super still and allowing yourself to sit long enough until that discomfort is no longer uncomfortable, and then giving it time to allow for the new things to unfold, for your life to unfold, for the true answers to come. It's this peeling away of the layers of the armor that we've worn all these years with the shoulds and the, you know, showing up in a way that, you know, others have told us we should show up, or that society tells us we should show up, and actually giving ourselves the space and time to sit with it. And the answers become super clear. It's amazing what happens. And that's what happened to me. I was able to realize that, you know, it was okay for me to shift directions in my business, and that it did, I was, you know, failing, or that I was, you know, not showing up in a consistent way. It just meant that I was listening to my guide, my soul, my intuition that was telling me that this is the next direction that I'm meant to go in. And I want everybody to know that. I want everybody to understand that, you know, there's a big difference between starting things and not being able to finish things, and being super wishy-washy and running from things when they get hard and scary. There's a big difference between that and doing something for a certain amount of time, but feeling called to kind of shift it and again, pivot, and to change it into something different that feels more aligned to what you value and what you feel is your purpose.
Absolutely.
It's okay to have change.
Yes. And
necessary.
And we invite it in, and we allow it to be, and no matter how unfinished things are. That was a huge thing for me. As a recovering perfectionist, one of the traits of perfectionism that I don't think as many people are as cognizant of is the not starting. Like beyond procrastination, the never ever embark on, for fear that we can't finish, and we can't finish it well, in whatever grandiose vision that has been created, and being willing to jump into something with that. I have no idea what that's going to look like. You know, others have done it that way, and others have done it this way, and I'm going to do it whatever, and I will get to as far as I need to, and then do the next thing. That's massive. That is massive. So tell us a little bit about how you learned that lesson. Like I recognize that, you know, we through the grief process, but where do you think you were most challenged to learn that? Because I know for me, often the lessons that I really need to learn, they keep coming back and back and back. So what would you say is one of the challenges that keeps showing back up to help reinforce this lesson?
Yeah. When I was last year, when I was giving myself the space to take a step back from my actual one-on-one coaching business, this message of, you know, well, maybe you're missing working on a team. Maybe you're missing, you know what I mean? Going into work. And I kept pushing that message away because I felt like, no, I've made a decision to be an entrepreneur, and I'm a solopreneur, and I'm a one-on-one coach, and this is what I'm meant to do. And if I don't do that, then that means that I've failed in my business, and that I'm, people are going to judge me, and people are going to think that I'm wishy-washy, and that I'm not a coach, until the message was super loud. And the signs really showed up in my life, where I was kind of presented an opportunity of a job that was doing something that I love with a lot of freedom. And I had to take the leap to decide, okay, yes, this is what I'm going to do, regardless of any outside noise. And it was totally the right thing to do. And then again, you know, a few months later, the messages of, you know, okay, maybe you're meant to to do more of this thing that you've leaned into, and less of the other. And what does that look like? And again, that voice came up with me saying, oh no, but like, you know, you worked so hard to be a coach, and you've done all these things, and you're so good at it, and you're helping so many people, and how can you move away from that? And I was reminded that, you know, the new direction that I felt called to go in was still coaching. It's still helping people. It's still empowering people. It's still allowing people to see and to find freedom. It just looks different. It's in a different package.
Yeah.
So I guess that message that keeps coming up is, you know, when something keeps showing up in your life, and there's that niggling feeling, and there's resistance to something else, listen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to it. It's there for a reason.
What I heard inside that, and I'm very familiar with that journey, and you 100%, you know, listened to the right voice and brought you to this excellent space. I think the one thing that I noticed a little bit here, and then in a lot of the other women that we both work with, is the lack of self-trust.
Yeah.
So we, you know, if I'm going to go do this new thing, I'm dropping everything I once did, once identified as, and we forget that we bring with us so many beautiful gifts. And so that awareness that maybe flipped for you was it is also coaching. It is also using and capitalizing and enjoying all of the pieces that you liked in the previous sort of framework that you had set up. And I think there's a huge lesson in that for all of us, that when we choose to take on something new, if we're feeling called, if we feel excited, if there's like a little glimmer of, oh, that seems interesting, knowing that everything we have learned and gained comes with us, and it just enhances that experience. And to be able to celebrate whatever the new thing is, and even celebrate being new again, right? Being a beginner. But we're never back at the start. Right?
That's it.
You and I've talked about this, like we it's a spiral, right? You're moving up, and you're taking it all with you, and you're experiencing life with these attributes and skills and knowledge. And it's something that I think when we get a little ultra focused, we start to delete or negate or ignore or miss what we're bringing with us. And I know that what you were saying about the stillness and the listening would allow it's like this expansion of your perception. And it's almost like, you know, you taking this little narrow view and bringing it all the way back and going, look at all this other stuff I've got going on. And how awesome is that?
Totally. And I love the idea of the visual. I'm a visual person, and I love the idea of the spiral. And because a spiral, if you can visualize it going, you know, like a tornado, some of the things that can't hang on, and that are just super loose, and they're hanging on by a thread, are going to get let go. But that doesn't mean that we're completely turning into a different person. It just means the parts that are meant to stay are going to stay and are going to rise. And I think as humans, we want our life to be so clean and so compartmentalized and so black and white, and it's not like that. So it's more of, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a muddy mess sometimes, but it's really about these different chapters in our lives. Like a chapter in our life that kind of, you know, organically unfolds into what the next thing looks like. This is what life is about. This is not about just staying in one thing. How many of us and how many of our clients, you know, are in jobs where the answer is, well, I can't leave. I've been there 20 years and I've got security and I've got this, but they're miserable. Or relationships where it's like, well, we've got kids and we've got a mortgage and it's just too hard to leave, but they're miserable because it's this vision of, you know, who am I going to be if I'm not in this thing right now? You're still going to be you. You're just going to be, you know, a more evolved, spiraling upwards version of yourself that's letting go of the things that no longer fit and is opening up to the things that are going to feel a lot better now.
Absolutely.
Because who we were last year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The core is the same, but we're evolving beings. We're meant to evolve. It actually is painful to not evolve. And we, for some reason, decided at some point that that's what we were going to do. We were going to stop ourselves from changing. Like, I decided to become a teacher, so I have to be a teacher for 30 years. No, you don't.
Right.
You do only if it feels good till the end. And if it doesn't feel good, you can change, and you can take that part of you that was so awesome at being a teacher and make it into something else that's still you and that still is valuable.
Absolutely. And I think, especially for those of us who made some pretty distinct life decisions at a time in our life when we didn't know shit about who we were, right? So you're coming out of high school, or you're, university, whatever, you're coming out of something as a young person going, I am now going to be this thing. And if there's gain and beauty and awesomeness there, brilliant. And due to the process of evolution and the process of self-awareness, like, what are my values? What is important to me? Oh, I'm fully aware of this trauma that I survived, and I didn't really give it the light of day. And now that I have, and what do I want more of? And then inside of that, giving ourselves permission to go, I can take my 15 years in this place and all the beauty that I gained and I can pick it up and move it into the next thing. It's interesting that you said teachers, because a lot of my clients are teachers with beautiful gifts that they're like, well, I can't translate that. I can't write children's books. I'm a teacher. I can't do this. I'm a teacher. I'm like, but you just gained all the knowledge, and wouldn't it be, and how you can almost transmute what seemed like just stuff you did for your job, even, and you liked it. But it was this, like, I acquired skills because that's what I had to do. And then how do you take that and expand and evolve through that? Brilliant.
It's like, it's totally taking the thing and like spreading it out on the table and dissecting it. And what are the parts of this that really jazz me and inspire me and have me feeling alive, and take those pieces of it and like you said, transmute it into something else that is just this natural, evolution of it. And I love, like Liz Gilbert always says, obey the curiosity. When something, and that's kind of my modus operandi these days. Like, if I'm curious about something, whether it's like gardening or cooking something or painting or whatever, I'm obeying the curiosity, because I believe that it's come into me for a reason. So what might come out of it?
Yes.
And like you said, that sense of self-awareness, this is something that, like, I do with all of my clients, is constantly checking in with themselves to say, okay, this core value of mine is freedom. So what does freedom look like now, though? What does that feel like now? Because what the definition of it for me is obviously different from what it is for you and for everybody else, but it's also different from what it was before the COVID. Right now, freedom. So constantly asking yourself these questions and checking in with yourself and saying, like, okay, like, what would make me feel the freest now? What would make me feel the freest, post COVID and moving forward in my life? And it might look different, and not being afraid to take notice of the differences, but to actually, lean into them and accept them and make friends, because of, living your life of purpose and freedom really lies.
Yeah. So good. I'm a huge advocate of self-curiosity and that idea of the self-compassion that we sometimes save for everybody else. And I love, again, coming back to a lot of my perfectionist tendencies, one of the strategies that I used is, what is it about this thing that I want more of, or that I did enjoy, or that I'm looking forward to? Like, why? Like, what is the why?
Yes.
So if the why is truly, it's aligned with my values and it's really at my core and with freedom, right? And then can I take the essence of that and use that as a lens, or overlay it onto the next experience? So, if I'm heading towards goal X and goal X blows up, what was it about it that I wanted? It wasn't just the car, the house, it wasn't the materialistic externalized thing. What was it about that inside of that was for me? And then can I go get that somewhere else? You know, I get
and usually
joy.
it's the feeling, right?
Yes.
It's what was that feeling, and how can I recreate it, doing something different, or making something, or being something different. It's
Absolutely.
the feeling that we're after.
And I use that strategy with my kids. It's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are very, you know, at the young age that they are, they're still pretty concrete thinkers, you know, lots of black and white. And, you know, when things don't go like this, then it's the world is ending. But to start that conversation of what about that did you like, or were you looking forward to, like, what specifically, and can you then get that anywhere else? And then you start to expand. And I think some of the teachings of young people that, you know, that we're looking at are things that we all need to be reminded of consistently.
Big time.
And I mean, that's why you and I do what we do, because there's a lot of reciprocity in those experiences of coaching and supporting, and then the gain we get in return, and all of that. Yeah. So I know that, again, you've been following curiosity for a while now, and it's been a beautiful thing to observe as a friend. And I'm interested, what are you leaning into right now that you're finding is the most supportive, or the thing that you need to manage this uncertainty that we're sort of all in?
Yeah. So, and that's an awesome question, because last summer, when I was, you know, on this journey, you know, again, but like deep into it, part of my healing involved, you know, I did a mind, body, soul kind of healing. So I hit myself from all angles, and yoga was something that I've been doing off and on since my 20s, so 20 plus years, but never consistently. And so I dove into it, and right now that's what I'm really leaning into, and that's where my curiosity and my excitement and my passion in something that's relatively new but not new kind of thing with me. So I'm taking a yin yoga training so I can learn mindfulness practices for myself, my family and friends, but also that I can teach my clients so they can also come to me for more of a mind, body, soul approach to the coaching and to their transformation. Also leaning a lot more and back into my holistic skin therapy, which is something that has been part of me since I was a little kid, struggling with acne. And then I became a skin therapist for 10 years, and then kind of transitioned out of that to go coaching full time, and have made my way full circle. And it's really jazzing me. It's really lighting me up. So I'm following that curiosity and that inspiration, instead of telling it, well, no, that's the old you, that now you're this thing, you're a coach now, because it's all the same. It's all me showing up and helping women and people, but mostly women, to be their best selves. And as soon as I allowed my brain to see that, you know, it's not so different, and it's not a complete shift and change. It's just listening, and it's obeying, and it's leaning into those parts of me that have always been awesome, that I felt I needed to change or move from. I'm moving back to them. It's so funny how we do that. Because I think, you know, and this is the last I'll say about that, but, you know, they like, as coaches, we often will get our clients, and even in therapy, but we'll often get our clients to think back to when they were kids, what excited them the most? What did they love doing? You know, was it drawing? Was it this? Was it that? So they can, you know, get to the core essence of what they love and what they're meant to do. This is kind of the same thing. Like when we allow ourselves to step into that space, we're kind of like always led back to the things that, or often led back to the things that we really loved, that we were good at. They don't have to look exactly the same. They can be similar, but we don't have to abandon them.
No, and there's so much in there that I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. So one, being your friend and someone who is, you know, walking this journey with you, it is so clear and like so evident of where you are jazzed. And as a result, the energy that you and anybody who's doing that, like we all know those people who are just like on fire and so excited, and they don't need you to know that they love what they do. They just do it. And they're just, and it's enjoyable, and you want to be around them. You want to, I want to be around that person. I'm so excited. I'm so curious about what they do. I'd never known about this. I just feel more like the relationship and the experience of getting to be a part of that sort of that aura, if you will. It's super powerful, and it's very, it's that inspiration point, or it's motivating, but more importantly, it's really felt, and it can, and I think that's really what translates. And I think that's what we're all looking for more of, those of us who are, you're thinking about relationships. We don't live in bubbles. I mean, yes, we're isolated, but we don't live as completely independent people for the most part. I suppose there are people on the planet who do, but we go out and we interact with others, and we talk about, vibe and who we click with and what that's like. But we are attracted to people who, and we call it confidence, but I think it's more than that. I think it's definitely, it's like passion and confidence and love and excitement and willingness to make mistakes and just be in it. And I think that is something that I know, for, again, like I said, for me as your friend, I'm in love with that. And we all benefit when we each choose to sort of follow that curiosity and follow those fascinations. So
obey
powerful.
the curiosity, man. That's my biggest, I'll leave, with that for anybody. Like, if anything piques your curiosity, don't push it away and think it's silly. Just obey it, follow it, see where it takes you. Because I can guarantee it's never going to take you in the wrong direction.
No. Brilliant. And that was exactly what I was going to ask you. What words of wisdom would you share? And I think it's, again, just through you sharing how passionate you are about being curious. And listening and trusting and celebrating and being willing to you can call it going back if you want to, but the other nugget I think that I wanted to pull from that is, because when you said something that you're good at, and I know so many women negate what they're good at, and as something that they could then go and showcase or highlight or capitalize on or monetize, right? So the things that we are naturally good at, and I say this with the quotation marks if you can't see me, is because sometimes it's just stuff that we've taken a long time to learn, and we forgot that we never knew it. And I think it's so important to look at what we bring to the table and how we're unique and special, and the gifts that we bring, and to celebrate those things. And if it does excite you and you are good at it, that's okay. That's even better, right? That you then can go, I love doing this, and I'm really good at it, and it's having the impact that I desire, whatever that is. And I'm curious to know more about it, or to take it in another direction, or to see it in a different way. Super, super powerful. And I don't want to say easy, but it's relatively simple. Like, anybody could do this from home.
It is.
You don't need to go find a guru or take a course. Just sit down and go, what am I good at? And I like.
Oh yeah, that's a question I'll give my clients. I'll say, ask yourself, and ask, what would the people that are closest to you say that you're really good at in your life? And that's what when I was starting my life over, that's what I did. I had no clue who I was. And so I asked friends and family, if you could pick a career or a job or a vocation or a direction that you would think would be perfect for me, what would it be? And the answers, you know what I mean, were pretty, they were pretty concentrated. They were, wellness, and it was skin, and it was helping people, and you know what I mean? And I was like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? So you take that and you find a way to to do more of it. And when you find a way to do more of it, then you can figure out a way to make money from it. And then it just doesn't feel like work. That old adage, take what you love and what you're good at and find a way to make money at it, and you'll never work a day in your life. That's really the secret sauce to life.
That to me is freedom, right?
It's
100%.
freedom. That's
Yeah.
it. That's exactly it. Because when we're saying to ourselves, okay, like that would be like me, the opposite of that is me saying, okay, well, I want to become a rocket scientist. No, I'm not good at math. I'm not good at like physics. I don't like that kind of structure. So why would I force myself into that just because? No, let's take what's natural about what we love and what we're good at and what just comes out of us, or what we've mastered and actually still love, like you said, and just go forward with that. It doesn't matter what it is.
No, and I think on a caveat of that, especially in the, if you're going to be a rocket scientist, this is what it looks like. Well, maybe I'm a rocket science lover, aficionado, expert, and this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
So my husband, he's a musician and a comedian and an artist and all types of things. And early on, talking about whether or not he was going to go down the music path, and the music industry has blown up in a variety of ways and is blowing up again. But the vision of what it means to be a musician didn't exist anymore. He said, well, then that's not happening. And to me, it's about following those fascinations and then getting creative on how it can show up for you.
Yes.
So if you are a lover of music and you're like, well, I don't like the idea of living in my van for 6 to 9 months out of the year. What could I do with this and still feel like I'm gaining and connecting and really making it work for me? So, the going back to those people, and you had said, people who know you best, and I call them your believing mirrors, the ones who sort of see your greatness even when you don't. Going back to those people that you know and trust and can feel safe with, to be vulnerable and be like, how can we do this? Like, how can I make my love, passion, skill for rocket science-ness and get the other pieces of my life that I'm still also wanting to have. And again, you just stuff you can start to do today. And I think that
100%.
There's so much.
It boils down. Yeah. It boils down to asking yourself the questions and actually telling yourself the truth.
Yeah.
That's not bullshitting ourselves.
No.
No.
So thank you, Shari. Obey your curiosity and trust yourself and allow yourself to grieve what needs to be let go in order for you to evolve. And because the time keeps ticking. I mean, I recognize that for some time is relative, but time will continue to move forward. And we have this gift, this opportunity to evolve through that, and needing to let go and trust what we're bringing with us as a result. I love that visual of going up the spiral and sort of in a very fast tornado-y type way. The stuff that is not meant to be with you, that falls away. And some of it may have been good when it was needed. Yeah. And it's okay to let it go, even though it was once good, and send it with love and light. It can land on the next guy.
Yes.
So good.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your wisdom. And I look forward to every one of our chats, and we'll see what sort of the world looks like. I'm hoping sooner rather than later. Do you have, I know that you are deep in sort of to your space. Is there anything that is coming up for you that you wanted to share? Anything that you are working on? I mean, the yin yoga, I'm super pumped about how you're going to infuse that into your, the multiple ways in which you show up. Is there anything else going on that you want to share?
So the yin yoga, I'm going to, and bringing, the skin therapy. I'm going to be doing a bit of a revamp of, not a revamp of my website, but just kind of shifting things around to have those offerings on there. And just really opening myself up to more collaborations on, like live workshops with other people like us that have gifts to help others rise. And and seeing where that takes me. I'm still doing my one-on-one coaching, which is glorious. My clients are, all thriving through this crazy, tumultuous time of the COVIDs, which is so great. So it's going to be like different facets of Heal with Shari, all coming together in a more mind, body, soul type of transformation.
Beautiful. I will make sure that everybody has access to that. And so, and I love the idea of collaborations. I know there's some amazing people who in our world that I would love to see the two of you together and putting your gifts out into the world. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shari.
My pleasure. So good to talk to you. Always, always. It's so much fun, and your community is beautiful as well. So thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join Dion again next week to learn more about what you can do to go from hot mess to awesomeness.